Should I focus on having children and a family, or should I just wait and go with the flow? You know, this is a really common misconception problem that people have, is that somehow going with the flow or being in the now or being present is incongruent in some way to actively doing something. That if you're going to be in the now and you're going to be present and you're going to go with the flow, that it literally means you're just going to sit on the couch and wait for the world to do its thing. And that's not really what it means. Being in the now, being present, going with the flow does not mean I don't plan. I know I like to eat. If not 3 times a day, at least twice a day. At the bare minimum, once a day with some snacks. And if in my house the fridge is empty and my cupboards are empty, well, I have to go to the supermarket. The fridge isn't going to fill itself. The cupboards aren't going to fill themselves. And having faith or being connected to the divine or being in the now or going with the flow doesn't mean that I just kind of sit here and assume that if God wanted me to have food miraculously upon my doorstep, would show up bags of groceries. This is a misunderstanding. It's also, I feel, a very serious disservice being done by this intersection of New Age meets deep ancient philosophy. Because the deep ancient philosophy that tells us, have faith in God, be in the now, meets a new age that is all about pretty much how to make whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, as much as you want, without actually doing anything. Or with simply, chanting a certain mantra or putting out a certain intention, but with the mantra and with the intention, well, there has to be some action. It's not about I'm going to just sit here and wait for God to deposit food on my doorstep. I've got to get off my rear end, get myself to a grocery store, and buy some food. Or if for whatever reason I can't, I've got to pick up the phone and call a friend and say, hey friend, would you mind? I've got an empty fridge and empty cupboards. I'm really hungry. Here's what's going on in my life due to which I can't go grocery shopping right now. Would you mind picking up some food? That's not incongruent with going with the flow or being in the now. Puja Swamiji always says, failing to plan is planning to fail. If I know that I want to live a long and healthy life, let's say, well, I need to, on a physical level even, I need to put certain practices into my life. I need to implement certain practices of diet, of exercise, of sleep, of meditation, of pranayama, of whatever it may be. Getting sunshine, breathing clean air. I need to implement things in my life to help get me where I want to go. So with the question, should I focus on a family and children or just go with the flow? Well, if what you want is a family and children, if you just sit on your couch, again, unless the milkman or the mailman or the plumber or the electrician happens to be the person you fall in love with and have a family, you're not going to meet anybody by sitting on your couch and just waiting for it to happen. You've got to take steps. But there's a difference between planning, acting, and not being present. So for example, if I want to eat mangoes in the future, I'm going to plant mango seeds in my garden. I'm not just going to wait for mango seeds from some far-off mango tree to be carried in the wind and land in the right spot in my garden at the right time of year. And if I really want to eat mangoes, I'm going to find myself some mango seeds. I'm going to plant them the right way, at the right time of year, in the right place. I'm going to water them. But what I'm not going to do is stand over them and keep reminding them, remember, you're a mango seed. Come. And I'm not going to rush out every day and drive myself bananas to see whether my mango tree is growing yet. I'm not going to lose sleep every night over, oh my God, what happens if in the night a coyote comes, an animal comes, digs up my seeds. Those of you who have heard my Bill the Cat story know the reference, but otherwise, even if you don't know it, doesn't matter. Animals come, they dig up seeds. What if a storm comes? I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I've planted my seeds. I've done my part. Now I'm going to be here. If I know that on such and such a date I have a flight to catch, well, I'm going to write myself a note. I'm going to put a reminder in my calendar to make sure I make it. The day before my flight, I'm going to make sure to set my alarm so I get up on time, not to miss my flight. Doesn't mean I'm not living in the now. Doesn't mean I'm not being present. I am being present. I'm being present with the fact that there is a flight I have to catch. I'm being present with the fact that I know I'm going to want to eat mangoes. I'm being present with all of that. And so really we have to live in this very beautiful and actually quite simple, if you don't overthink it, intersection of planning, making notes, planting seeds, buying groceries, and then sitting back. When I go to the store and I buy my groceries and I fill my fridge with it, I don't need to think about groceries again. I don't need to worry, oh my God, what happens when they run out again? What am I going to do? Oh my God, now my groceries are at 90%. Now they're at 85%. Oh my God. Did I buy apples? I think I bought apples. I meant to buy apples. Oh my God, now I can't remember. Did I buy apples? So that's what's taking me out of the now. So going back to the question of children and family, I'd say, put that intention out there, if that's what you want. I want a family and children. Okay, well what that means is, in order to do that, I have to meet somebody who's going to be the right person for me, whether I do it the Indian way, traditional way, and my parents are going to find someone, or my grandparents, or whatever it may be, or I do it the way of I'm going to find somebody. Whatever it is, I have to do something. When we talk about karma karna, I have to act. And then I stay present. So I don't lose sleep over it. I'm not obsessed with it. It doesn't guide my every breath, every minute. I don't make choices entirely based on, am I going to meet somebody there? I don't run every minute of my life based on where am I going to find the right man or woman who I'm going to be able to meet and have a family with. But I also don't sit on my couch assuming that it's going to come in the mail. And this is whether it's a family and children, whether it's a job, whether it's good health, whatever it is that I'm looking for in the world that's not something that's already in me. Something very specific that I want from outside. A mango in my garden. Whatever it is, I have to plant the seed for it. And so we do. But being in the now means that my mind is in the present. And sometimes that present is used by planning for the future. All of nature does it. Look at squirrels and chipmunks prior to the winter. What are they doing? Collecting, nuts in their cheeks and burying them so they have food to eat in the winter. Bears, all of the animals that, whether they hibernate, whether they have a different lifestyle in the winter, well, they plan in advance. They don't wait for the first frost to say, oh my God, winter's come again. Well, I'll just go with the flow. Something will be there to eat. Well, no, something won't be there to eat. If you don't plan for that before the frost comes, chances are you're not going to make it through the winter. You live someplace where it's raining, your roof leaks. Well, get it fixed. Get it fixed before the next rain. This is action. We are instructed, exhorted to act. There is no teaching, no scripture that I have read or heard spoken that says, thou shalt sit down, do nothing, and wait for the world to serve you. Thou shalt not plan, thou shalt not implement, thou shalt just go with the flow. This is where, as I said, it's the mismatch of the new age with the ancient and how it sort of misunderstands the ancient, of have faith in God, of be in the present. Well, remember, as I said, sometimes the present is utilized in planning for the future. You want to have dinner tonight? Well, I'm going to use the present of my afternoon to shop and cook. If I don't use the present moments of my afternoon to shop and cook or order food, I'm not going to have dinner. Being in the present simply means whatever I am doing, including planting seeds for the future, that I'm present with it. That's all it means. That I'm in the now, that if I'm planting a mango seed so that 5-10 years from now there'll be mangoes in my garden, that while I'm planting it, I'm present with the seed. I'm present with the earth. I'm present with the divine way that turns this tiny little seed into a huge tree from which juicy mangoes come. That I'm present with gratitude for those who planted the seeds 5 or 10 years ago so that I could have mangoes today. And that while I'm planting a mango seed, I'm not thinking about, oh my God, God, I wish that I just lived somewhere where mangoes just, grew everywhere and I never had to do anything. And, that guy across the street has already got mangoes on his tree. And why is he so lucky and I'm not lucky, and that's not fair? That's not being in the present. That's not being in the now. I'm planting a seed. Every bit of me planting a seed. I'm cooking dinner. Every bit of me cooking dinner. I'm washing dishes. Every bit of me washing dishes. There's a beautiful teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a very, very renowned Buddhist monk and teacher. He's a poet, he's a speaker, he's a writer, but he's a beautiful and incredible poet. And he gardens a lot. And somebody once asked him, why do you spend so many hours a day gardening? You've got all these people, let them garden. You've got this incredible gift as a poet. Why don't you let somebody else garden and you write poetry? And he said, if I didn't garden, I couldn't write poetry. His poems are not about gardening, but the wholeness of the being, the wholeness of the service, of the doing, of the acting, is what gives him that divine inspiration with which to write poetry. If someone else was doing his doing for him, the poet would not show itself. And so in planting the seeds, in weeding the garden, in watering them, emerges the poet. And so whatever I'm doing, if I'm present in it, I'm in the now. And out of that, my poet, my artist, my musician, my awakened, enlightened self emerges. But not by pushing the doing away. We have to do. But the key is to be while doing. And that only happens when the mind is there fully with whatever you are doing. And in that moment is when it all emerges.